We are here. We got Dylan KUSCH representing Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Before we even jump into the beat tape, because I know it's gonna be dope. I already know it's gonna be flames. I know what you're capable of. I know what you coming with. Give us a little understanding of the Saskatoon hip hop scene. For someone who's never been there, I've flown over it. You know, I went to BC. I've been to the East Coast. I've never stopped in Saskatoon, Manitoba, even Alberta, strangely. So give us a little breakdown on what the hip hop scene is like in Saskatoon, and how you got involved in the whole game.
Hey, for sure, man. Well, yo, like I wish I could give you like some crazy like background of like what the music's like out here. But as far as I know, for hip hop, there isn't really a whole lot. Like there's definitely people out here doing their thing like I am, but it's very, very much on a small scale. It's definitely not like anything big or anything popping. And a lot of it isn't even, in the style that I am trying to like get myself involved in, just hip hop and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of talent that pertains to different genres,
Right.
but nothing that I'm really involved in or know about. So
Okay.
yeah, there really isn't a whole lot for my city specifically, and honestly, probably my whole province, and I bet,
Okay.
you probably can't say too many musically or like just music producers out of Saskatchewan, period. You know what I mean? It's kind of a
Right.
somewhat of a Canadian anomaly, you know what I
I'm
mean? But
thinking. I'm thinking of more when I think of Saskatchewan, and I don't know if it's because of the Rough Riders, but I'm thinking like more First Nations artists.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
the first thing that comes to my mind. Like more First Nations, Indigenous artists, as far as Saskatchewan, and I mean I've met people who've been to Saskatoon and kind of had a temporary stop there, or even lived there for a short period of time. But as far as like connecting it to an individual artist or a specific sound, I don't have it. I draw blanks. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And I don't blame you for that. Yeah, there's not really that guy or that girl, who's like
Right.
at the top, but I
Right.
mean, I'm trying to be that, you know what I mean? Sooner
Right.
or later, maybe I could put the city on. But
Right, right. So how did you get into hip hop? Like what was your inspiration? What was the first artist you started to listen to? What was some of the producers that inspired you? Like how did you get into the craft and what was it before you got into it? What was going on before you got into the craft?
yeah, for sure. So I got into music, period, when I was like 10 years old, so this would have been 2012. Prior to that, I was just, your regular kid, you know what I mean? Play games, just do shit, you know what I mean? Just like kid shit, I was 10 years old. But,
Right.
um, I've thought about this a lot. Like, what was my true introduction to hip hop, period? And I don't exactly have it, you know what I mean? I'm not totally sure, like, because you see people talk about how, oh, the first time they heard Illmatic by Nas, it
Right.
changed their life, or The
Right.
Chronic by Dr. Dre. But for me, I've never really had that, or I haven't been able to draw back to that moment. But um, I guess with the minimal amount of hip hop that I knew of at the time, that would have been like Eminem and the whole Shady Camp. I kind of had that on lock, you know what I mean? Just being that, especially that was like in the recovery era, Eminem just put out
Right.
that album that was everywhere. So that was in rotation. Also knew about Drake. Um, Funny story. I remember my mom had put me on to Drake, and I was asking her like as a little kid, like, oh well, who is this guy? And she explained to me like, oh, he was on Degrassi one time, and I swear she pulled up, like, she had her laptop with her. She literally showed me like a scene of Drake and Degrassi, and it kind of
Wow.
just like made sense to me. And I think that's so cool. She probably won't remember that, but
Right.
yeah, it was very, very limited listening in terms of hip hop, and outside of that, just radio music, you know what I
Okay.
mean, like whatever's playing at the time. But yeah, so I guess when I was 10, there was like just this sudden spontaneous need to like make music, period. So I just
Okay.
started writing raps, recording my own songs, just making music.
Right.
I was doing it all on a on an iPad, because I was gifted an iPad by my grandparents maybe like 4 months before I started music. So
Right.
those 4 months first, it was just games. But then when it came to music, I started to like, see what kind of apps I could get. You know what I mean? Whether it was FL Studio Mobile, GarageBand, any DJ apps. Like I was just seeing what I could what I could play with, just to experiment. And of course, I
Right.
didn't know what I was doing, but
Okay.
that was the point. And then eventually that kind of um led to me to get really interested in production, all the while like still writing raps and doing vocal stuff. But eventually I think I was like 13. I started making beats on the computer because like that's how the big dogs were doing it.
Right.
I would see people like one of my favorite artists is Hobson. As a
Right. Right.
kid, um, I would watch his videos and he'd be making beats on the computer, and I'm like, oh, he's got FL Studio. I got to get that. And I'm just picking his brain a little bit without being directly in contact. I'm just seeing what he's doing and try to replicate that on
Right.
my computer and all that. But so yeah, started making my own beats, and eventually, I would say it was maybe like 2 or 3 years of just making beats and kind of like doing vocal raps on the side that I just decided to fully commit to the production because there was just so much more of a demand for it. I feel like, especially with the people I was cool with, like they didn't want to hear me rap; they just wanted some beats. So I was like, whatever.
Right.
And since then I haven't really looked back. You know what I mean? Just
Okay.
been keeping
Okay.
at it every day.
Well,
And
that's
yeah,
crazy.
man.
You got to definitely be the first person I've ever heard say that their parents put them on to Drake. That's crazy. I've never
Yeah.
ever heard somebody say that their parents put them on to Drake. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was the thank me later era. Like
Right.
that was that moment. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into the beat tape. We got 10 tracks. I know they're all gonna be fire without a shadow of a doubt.
Or
What made you put together an actual beat tape project as opposed to just battling here, sending a beat to artists there? What made you actually compile all this to actually put a tape together?
yeah, so I like to think that this all kind of goes back to the start of the pandemic. I was doing basically my last classes for high school, and then I was about to graduate, but COVID hit, schools got closed, the whole world's in lockdown, and I kind of I got to graduate a little bit early, you know what I mean? So I had a lot of time just to do whatever, and on top of that, not really planning on going to university or college or nothing like that. Just kind of, chilling. I want to make this work. So,
Right.
but with all that time, at first I was just like doing what I was always doing, just making the same type of beats and just trying to like stack the archive. But I think it was a month or two, and I told myself I wanted to go back and listen to some music that I've always heard about and I've always like heard people praise, but I never quite like I never got it. I didn't see why they thought this dude was the GOAT. And I'm like, well, why? So I went back and listened to a few people like Jay Dilla. I dove through all of his projects, Madlib, MF Doom, went through a lot of Ninth Wonder with
Wonder.
Little Brother.
Right.
Yeah. And just really dove into all of that. And eventually kind of like it had a little bit of an influence on what the music I was making was. I
Right.
wanted to like sample more and do all that.
Right.
And it took me a minute to like, because I've been sampling, for like battles and all that, but for like, just a traditional beat tape, it took me a minute to get like a new sound out of that, I feel like. So I think maybe at the top of the year, that's when I like really hunkered down and just like made beats to make them.
Right.
And then it was like in April, that's when I like sat down and went through all that I had and just pieced it together in a way that I thought was cool and just free flowing, so
Okay.
16 tracks total, but for here we're gonna do
We're gonna
10.
do 10.
And
Okay, well let's jump into it. The first track is called Grape Shot. So let's jump to it. This is Dylan KUSCH representing Saskatoon. First track is called Grape Shot. Let's jump right into it.
You're listening to 95. Only the hottest of songs here. We've got the beats. We're playing a nice slow song for you lovers out there to help get your morning started right. So make sure to tune in and listen all throughout the day to what we've got planned for you. Have a good day. Hey, you're kicking it with DJ W Dubs. You got money on the line, you better take care of that shit.
what are some of the go-to sample packs you use? Is there like specific packs for your drums and for, different things that you use?
Not really. I'm kind of just like a collector of anything I can get,
Okay.
constantly just browsing around on Reddit and
Right.
honestly just like illegal websites, just trying to get anything I can, whatever drum kits there are. I probably got like maybe like a terabyte worth of kits.
Wow.
But yeah, for like samples though, I mean for this beat tape, I took it pretty much to YouTube. There might be like 2 joints on here that I like recorded off vinyl.
Right.
But most of it was just YouTube playlisting, and then if I heard something I liked, then I flipped it.
Right. What's the time commitment to each beat average that you make? How much time you
Uh,
usually put on an average beat?
it's different every time, yo. I hate to say it, but recently it's getting very long. Like I'll
Okay.
be doing like 6-hour sessions, and I don't even feel like I am. It's just it's a
Right.
process. Even for something someone else might do in 10 minutes. I like to be very picky with the mixing, even if it's not perfect. I still listen to it and I'm like, dang, why isn't it like that? But
Right.
whatever. But yeah, I'd say on average like maybe like 3 to 4 hours.
What specific element do you have the most issues with? Is it like the drums just ain't right, or the melody just there's something I gotta add to it? Like, is there a specific part of the song that gives you the most issues?
I mean, when it comes to like beats like this, my sampling technique, it tends to be I pretty much just base the whole beat around the sample. I don't tend to add too much like counter melody or whatever. But on the mixing side, I'm just picky with like cohesion, especially with a beat tape. Like some of the tracks, they immediately cut into the next. So you want it to feel like there's like a level-headedness with each track, and not one that's super loud and then the next that's really quiet.
Right.
And that can be hard to balance. So I just try a bunch of things with the levels and mixing and playing with the bass on each track just to get it where I think it needs to be. So
Okay.
it's just the balance.
Is there any formal training that went into your production? I don't know if is there like a music school in Saskatoon, or this is just you got to go in and figure it yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. My whole like commitment to music, I've never really had like too many family members or anybody really who like had an influence on me in terms of, oh, they used to be in a band or they do this, they do that. Like it's kind of just all me. Never really went to school for music or nothing. Yeah, kind of just self-taught myself through
Okay.
through YouTube really, and practice. That's it.
Right. You got a province to yourself then.
Yeah, for sure.
You holding
For
it
sure.
down for Saskatchewan, a whole province to himself. And that's all good. That's because you're already branded with Saskatoon. Trick's already branded. Like when they think of Saskatoon, at least here on this platform, you're the first name and probably the only name that's gonna come to mind.
Yeah,
You're
shout out to Tricks for that.
right. You're basically branded like Saskatoon. That's Dylan Kush's territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right. All right, let's get into the second track, Guard Up With God. How are you coming up with names for your tracks? Is it a specific thing that inspires it, or you just randomly taking something out of thin air and say this is the name of the beat?
A bit of both, some joints, like depending on the sample, I might name the track a certain way. For the whole project, the beat tape, I named each track with the letter G. It all starts with the letter G. Why? No reason. I just felt like it needed to be that way, just to have like some alliteration in the track list.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes it's just spontaneous, sometimes it's inside jokes, sometimes it's the beat, a little bit of everything.
Right. Dope. All right, Guard Up With God, second track. This is Dylan Kush representing Saskatoon. Let's do it. Who would be your top 3 influences as a producer? Who would you be like 1, 2, 3? This is who makes me do what I do.
Oh, okay. Pretty early on, Wonder Girl had like a huge influence on me. Just like, I don't know, like even if this music doesn't reflect that, like, just overall, like she's up there for me. Ninth Wonder for sure, because like the way he just flips shit is just, it's crazy. Like I can't think of too many people who do it the way he does.
Mm-hmm.
And um maybe it's one more. Maybe I'll say Jay Dilla, just because like, yeah, I fell into the whole Dilla rabbit hole,
Right.
and yeah, I went deep. Like I don't know, I was blown away by a lot of his work,
Right,
and
right.
yeah.
He actually makes a sample disappear in some cases where you just no longer know where it came from, but it sounded like someone's actually in a band playing it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just the way
Yeah,
he did his
exactly.
thing.
And
Like
people are still looking for some of his things. I'm in certain Facebook groups, and like people are just scouring for,
wow.
lost cuts and all that. So it's
Right.
cool, man. He's a legend.
That's definitely legend status. But that's a nice mix. Wonder Girl, Ninth Wonder, and Dilla.
Yeah.
Interesting mix from the newer school to the older school, if I guess you could say that. All right, well, let's get into the third track. This track is called Gap 7. Curious to know if this was just pulled from anywhere or if this has an inside joke around it.
Pulled it out of oh, actually, I was playing Mario Kart, okay, and then there's one track on there, and you have to do 7 laps, all right, not the usual 3.
Okay.
But for the sake of the beat tape, I just named it Gap 7 because I
Okay.
needed to. So
All
yeah.
right. Gap 7, here it is, third track off the beat tape. This is Dylan Kush. Beat tape is called Gelato.
Gelato, yeah.
Gelato. Okay. Well, let's get into the third track, Gap 7. Let's do it.
You got money on the line, you better take care of that shit.
I'm trying to think back when I heard that beat switch. How much did you incorporate transitions into your battle beats on stage? I can't remember all your battles, but I know you had some legendary beats. But I'm just trying to think of how much transitions factor into that. Are you always trying to do the 4-bar switch ups, 8-bar switch ups? Are you approaching it that way in battles?
Back then, I didn't really think about it too much, but nowadays what I would try to do is just to like have something different no matter what it is every 4 bars, even if it's just a drop in the beat or something,
Right.
just to keep it interesting. But
Right.
yeah, for the battles though, there were a few where like there were like sample switches and speed ups and slow downs and all that, but definitely a couple joints that kind of just played out, how they really would, and
Right.
there's not really a whole lot going on. It really just depends, also like who you're up against. Like maybe you want to hit them with the haymaker, maybe just
Right.
like, I don't know, like there's strategy with it, but yeah.
Right. Do you make beats specifically for like this pocket over here is for my battle stuff, this pocket over here is for pitching to artists? Like, how are you approaching making a beat? What's the intention behind a beat?
Um, yeah, a lot of the shit I make is just for myself, like, some of what we're playing here, I would never intend for an artist to get on or like a battle. Like I would just, ride around in the car and play this type of stuff,
Okay,
but
okay.
I definitely do have moments where it's like, oh yeah, no one can rap on this. I got to play this at a showcase or a battle. But then, most often it's just like producing for like artists, like placement beats that are pretty open and out there. So yeah, I am
Okay.
mindful of that.
Okay. All right. Dope. 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 Let's get into the track. The fourth track, "Got 'Em Phoenix." What was the reason for that name, and what was the inspiration behind this beat? Maybe it was just something for the whip.
Yeah, just yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone to get on this one. It's pretty busy. It's not a crazy sample chop or nothing. It's, I don't know, some crazy soul record I heard, and I think I just took 8 bars out of it and looped it over, put drums on it. It's pretty simple and it's kind of short. But the name, um there's that actor named Joaquin Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I just told myself like, oh, Godin Phoenix, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm just rolling with it, but
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Just
yeah. So
inspiration could come from anywhere. So
exactly.
there's no shade on how you got your name. I'm just curious to know how they came up, how they came to be. But yeah, "Got 'Em Phoenix." Let's jump into it. The fourth track. This is Dylan Kush. The beat tape is called Gelato, out now. We'll get into where it's available shortly. But let's check this fourth track out.
Got me going around with my heart upside down. Yeah, I don't wanna lose you. You got me going around with my heart upside down. Yeah, I can't do without you. You got me going around with my heart upside down. Yeah, I don't wanna lose you. You got me going around with my heart upside down. Yeah, I can't do without you.
Damn, short and sweet. Doesn't always have to be long. That did the job. That did the job.
Yeah, you know what? That's so they can play it again and again and again, you
Right,
know what I
right,
mean? If
right,
they
right,
want it.
right. That's the hook right there, just to get them, put the carrot out, dangle it, and get them hooked in. Did
Definitely.
the job. It definitely did the job. Got him, Phoenix. Definitely got him. Very very dope. Give us a breakdown on how you go about selecting samples. Like, what are you looking for? Like, some people specifically, I remember some producers telling me that they don't touch anything that's 80s and more recent, like 80s up. Everything has to be 70s and back. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I would never limit myself that way because there's a lot of crazy music, even coming out now, sample whatever. But for me, I'm kind of all over the place. One thing that I kind of figured out about myself in making this beat tape is that I prefer to like play with the sample as I listen to it, as opposed to just listening to it, hearing something, and then going, okay, I got to load it up.
okay,
So what I would do is I think I downloaded like a massive playlist of like 2,000 different samples just from YouTube. And then every day I would just play with like a handful. And while I played them, I would like hit the notes on my keyboard and it would change the key of the sample,
right,
make it go higher, go lower. And in that I can just find certain, pitches that I like and then just take it from there. But in terms of like, what kind of music, uh I gravitate towards soul heavily.
right,
World music, like, people who make shit in Brazil, like,
right,
all
right,
everything I hear out there is crazy. And I also flipped a lot of Italian music, oddly enough. It doesn't
right,
sound Italian, stereotypically,
right,
but
right,
like
right.
is yeah, just some crazy Italian composers on some of these sample joints. But yeah, really from anywhere, yo. Like
Okay,
I also dig through vinyl, and that is kind of just like a guessing game to me, just see what you get out of your picks.
right. With the Italian stuff, is it more like vocals or actually like bands or not bands necessarily, but Cause I'm thinking like kind of like Scarface Mafia kind of sounding music. I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
stereotypical sound of what people think Italian music is, but is it more like vocals that you were sampling and chopping?
I think so. Yeah, because I was definitely itching to get like good vocal flips in some of these tracks. Like some of them, I mean, there's space for someone to get on, but some of them I'm like, no, I want to flip someone's voice and have fun with it.
Right.
But yeah, and then yeah, so there's a bit of voice or vocal, but there's also a bit of just like instrumentation, to be honest, just like
Right.
orchestral
Right.
sounding
That's what
shit.
I was
Even
looking
if
for. Orchestra. That's what I meant to say. Not a band.
yeah,
Orchestra. Yes.
yeah, definitely. A little bit of that within this too. So
Right.
yeah, a little bit of both.
Okay. All right. Let's jump into track number 5. This is called Guess Again. This is Dylan Kush. This is the Gelato beat tape out right now. Track number 5. Guess Again. Let's do it.
And I'm the one to blame. The love, 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 and I'm the one to blame. The love.
Are you do you ever feel pressure to add like a lot of different elements to a beat to kind of clutter the beat up, or you're comfortable just having like a beat, a loop, and letting giving that space for an artist? Because I hear a variety in your sounds, but I'm hearing more where you're giving the artist that room to just breathe.
Yeah. For some joints, definitely. I also think it heavily depends on the sample. Like that joint we just played. I don't think I'd ever give that to anyone because, like, I don't know. That's something. It's a little bit too repetitive, and it's just like a late night drive kind of beat, whatever, however you're feeling. But yeah, definitely. Just in general, I like to kind of have a little bit of space. I feel like just catching a pocket is very important. So just like moving things off the grid and just like not having too much going on, especially with the drums. I mean, that'll always help. I feel like melody isn't that significant with all that, unless it's vocal. But yeah, definitely leaves. I always tend to leave a little bit of space for an artist,
Okay.
even if it is like a beat like that where there's a vocal sample. I could see that working, even if it's a little awkward.
Right. What instruments do you play right now? Are you playing any live instruments? Any keyboard live? Any trumpet, violin, drums? Anything live?
Well, I mean, I barely know how to play the keys. Like, if you told me to go crazy, do some,
Right.
wild, whatever, I couldn't do it. But
Okay.
I know how to build a chord, so I guess that's cool.
That's a part of it.
Yeah. Outside of that, not a whole lot. But I recently, not recently, maybe like last year, I copped a theremin, which is like it's this crazy instrument. It sounds like it's on some alien shit. So basically it has this wand, and when you move your hand too close to it,
Hmm.
it goes up in pitch, and when you move your hand away, it goes down. And it's kind of like this cool little synthetic sound that you get out of it, kind of like on some alien shit.
Okay.
I haven't used it on a track yet because I don't have the right cables for whatever reason. But when I get that hooked up, I'm definitely looking to kind of master the theremin however I can.
Okay. The theremin. Okay. I've never heard of that, but definitely something to look up. Um, Give us a story of you, because have you ever worked with artists, like collaborating with artists in studio setting?
Uh, yeah. Nobody big in
Okay.
person. Like they usually just act as my friends, really, if I'm in the studio with someone. But yeah, I've definitely worked on things, had friends come to my house, just, like even people from the States fly to where I live,
Right.
of all places, just to make some music for the week.
Right.
Yeah, but most of my stuff now is just done remotely, and honestly, it's kind of always been that way. But FaceTiming over the phone, making
Right.
beats for them
Right.
right there, like that's always
What's
it
what's
always gets the job done.
what's your preference on working alone or in a studio building the track together? What do you prefer better?
Um, I think I've gotten so used to just doing it myself. I'm not really crazy about like in-person collaboration, but
Okay.
hanging out with, producer friends and all that, like it's definitely fun to like, eat everybody adds a little bit of spice, and
Right.
then when the pot is done, then you just export it, you know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right. Right.
that's always fun too.
I always found there's a different energy or synergy that's created when artists are together and collaborating together because there's certain things that just happen in person that you can't convey that across a file or across the internet. Like when you're face to face, you can see the facial reaction, you can see the body reaction, the body language. Like there's just a different energy that's created when everybody's there. That's where I was kind of going with the question. Not so much who the artist is, but just how you work once you're in close proximity to the artist. If there's a different energy that can be created as opposed to just making a beat and sending it, to somebody in some 1,000 kilometers away from you.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like you're completely right. Like there's just this, you can't even force the energy. You know what I mean? Like when you're with whoever you're with and y'all are just like making music, getting creative, like that beats anything. You know what I mean? And just uh doing things just over the internet, like that's cool. We make the most out of what we can, but you're definitely right. Like just being in person, it does bring out like a different sort of vibe, even in the music especially. And I've noticed that, just with the few sessions I have had with producer friends, like those are some of my favorite beats ever. So yeah, even for the moment.
Right, right, right. All right, let's get into track number 6. This is called Golf in Tucson. Um, I'm not even gonna ask what inspired this name. Let's just jump right into it. Golf in Tucson. This is track number 6. This is Dylan Kush in the building with us. Beat tape is called Gelato. We'll get into where it's available shortly. But take this track in. And let us know what you think about it in the chat. Golf in Tucson, track number 6. Let's do it.
Shut the fuck up, mate! Look out for the fucking bush! What the fuck are you doing? Sit the fuck down! You're drunk! You're fucking drunk!
We've got the beats. Only the hottest of songs here.
Dope, dope, dope. Give me like a list of 3 artists. Who would be your 3 artists? If I could produce for these 3 artists, I've made it. I did it. I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. What would be your top 3 artists to produce for?
All right. I don't know. I'll just keep it simple here. Drake. All right. Just like he's the number one. If I got a Drake placement, like I'd be set. I think. Personally, like I've really been getting into this one rapper. His name is Elzai from Slum Village.
Mm-hmm. Legend.
And yo, his shit is crazy. I know he's not like
Bars.
super consistent, but like his projects, like bro, they're so wild. So doing a
Right.
project with him, that would be a dream come true.
Right.
One more. Shoot, you know what? Like as tacky, no, I'm not gonna say it's tacky, but like as uh I don't know. I feel like just because I grew up and this was like the first rapper I got into, Eminem, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Just because like he's that dude, you know what I mean? Especially growing up as a kid, like that guy's my everything. So
Right. Right.
doing a track for him, however I can, like that'd be amazing.
Okay. So Elzai, Eminem, and Drake. So you're going for bars. You're going for dudes that got bars, not just like melodies and stuff like that.
Yo, if I'm doing a record for Drake, like I'm giving him the most grimy shit, and I'm just gonna say make it work. You know what I mean? Like that would be so crazy if he just got on some like Griselda shit, you know.
Right,
and you know what? It would depend how it. I don't know. It might come out whack, but I mean, we could give it a try.
Okay, all right. No, that's a dope list. Today's artists are not so much bar heavy. It's more like on the vibe and if it's wavy or not, and you know the melody and whatnot is not really bar heavy. So that's why I was kind of going to the artists you picked are bar into bars. You know what I mean? Eminem, of course, Elzhi, of course, Drake. So interesting the kind of artists you're looking to connect with, which is dope. Cool. Someone in the chat asking how is that tacky? I guess you said Eminem is being tacky.
Oh, I don't know, bro. Like I shouldn't have said tacky. I mean, like, when people think of like, people like me, like who's my favorite rapper? Of course, I'm gonna say Eminem. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's so mainstream like that. Right. So I don't know.
Got you. Okay, all right. Well, this is track number 7, gluten free. Everybody's trying to be healthy nowadays, so I can understand maybe why you might call your beat gluten free. But is there anything other than the obvious on how this came to be the name of a track?
Not really, yo. I just thought, well, you know what? I had an energy drink that day, and I was struggling to get a name with a G because I needed that. So I was looking around, and the bottle said gluten free. So I'm like, perfect. This is it. This joint though, like I wouldn't expect any artist to get on it because it's just so out there. But I don't know. Well, it's
sometimes what it takes. That unorthodox beat is what works for some artists. So let's jump to it. Let's jump into it, and whatever you think about it, let us know in the chat how you feeling about this sound right here. So gluten free. This is Dylan Kush, Saskatoon Zone. Let's get it.
You better take that.
I mess with that. Is that sampling the Italian orchestra in that? Is that the sound, the vocal chops I'm hearing in that?
It might. Oh, you know what? No, I don't think so. That's actually a soul record. It's called One Day Soon by Vic Taylor. It's a very sappy sounding record, very lovey-dovey.
Right.
But I just took the evil parts and kind of just, smashed them all together,
That also gave me a Knots kind of vibe. You familiar with the producer Knots?
Bro, Knots is I should have said his name too, dude. Like Knots is crazy with it.
Right. That sounds up his alley.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably got like the hardest drums out, second to Dilla.
I got that vibe. How you mash that together, I kind of got that vibe from it. Very dope. Very, very dope. Gluten free. I don't know if I'd give it that name. That sounds like it has all the nutrients and all the junk in that. But we could go gluten free for now. Cool. All right. So we got a few more tracks we're gonna cover. Once again, so it's 16 tracks altogether, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're covering 10, but there's 16 on the whole tape. So make sure you go and get that. Where can they get it right now? Is it all the usual suspects? Tidal, Apple, Spotify, and whatnot?
Just free platforms. So YouTube, SoundCloud, and I put up a Bandcamp link as well. DylanKush.bandcamp.com.
Right.
You can get it there. That's a lot of samples to clear. So
most definitely. Some people just have Bandcamp and that's it. You know what I mean? Right. So I get it. I understand. But very dope. Definitely wherever you can get it is definitely worth the time. We've heard 7 tracks so far, all fire. 3 more to go and 6 more beyond what you're going to hear today. So let's get into track number 8. This is called Gold Mouth Moment. I ain't going to ask what that's about. Let's just listen to it. Leave your comments in the chat. Gold Mouth Moment, track number 8, Dylan KUSCH. Let's do it. Crazy. Shout out to Kanye on that one. The sample.
Sir.
So as we deal with samples and that whole discussion around samples, how are you viewing this from a business perspective? Because we all know the pitfalls of sampling, the potential pitfalls of sampling, and releasing stuff commercially. Are you considering reducing your sample usage based on, you know, getting into the publishing and the stickiness and the legal things that can come out of that with sampling? Or are you just putting it out there, artist takes it, it's their fault, it's their problem if they got to clear it or whatnot, and you just looking at it from that perspective?
Yeah. When it comes to like pitching for artists, I definitely try to give them, you know, just beats that are hassle free, like they don't really got to do much. But you know, I don't think the business would ever stop me from sampling, even just for fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if someone heard one of these beats and was so committed to like doing a track and getting it out there, then, you know, I feel like it would be worth it to handle the legalities.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'll keep sampling forever, you know?
Okay. All good. I just wanted to throw that little teaser, see if I could get you to stop sampling. Didn't work. Hey, I tried.
Nah.
All right. Let's get into track number 9. This is called The Green Tea Party. I guess we're getting political with the 9th track. Any story behind how this came to be, Green Tea Party? Or does it I'm going to assume it has nothing to do with political stuff. It's just, you know,
Not at all, dude. I like green tea, but you know, this also goes back to that same bottle I was talking about for gluten free.
Okay.
The bottle said green tea. I was like, yo, green tea, let's have a green tea party. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't even feel like the music reflects that, but you know, it's
Right.
just the name.
Is this just for this beat tape where all the titles start with G, so the next one is going to be the same, like all will start with H or a Z or T or whatever? Is that the tradition you're going to follow?
I haven't decided, yo. I might do that just to like have my own signature, but yo, there's only 26 letters, you know. So what am I gonna do when I hit that cap?
Right.
But
Double A.
Yeah. But maybe we'll see.
Right. All right. Let's get to track number 9, Green Tea Party. This is Dylan KUSCH with us in the building. Let's do it.
big partners right there, you know. Now I'm on my own, you know what I mean?
How inspired are you from what you hear on the radio? I know earlier you mentioned that, growing up, it was just what you heard on the radio. Does that spill into any of your music now? Or you just kind of like blocking all that out? You just make what you want to make from the heart, regardless of what's hot, what's popping, whatever.
I've definitely had moments where I'm just like driving really late at night, and just to see if I'll hear something cool, I'll turn on like the local radio, like rock channels and all that. And I've heard joints where I'm like, yo, I gotta go home and I gotta flip that. And it sucks when I can't figure out what the song was.
Right.
But yeah, I've definitely played around with that. But yeah, I would say for the most part, I kind of just approach it with a blank canvas, I just like I'll pick out of whatever sample I have and just see like what I can make of it. It's not really, it doesn't tend to be like a pre-thought process. I like to just dive into it.
Right. What would you like to be known for as a producer? If we were to jump fast forward to 2041 and looking back on the body of work that Dylan KUSCH has put down for Saskatoon, for the beat community globally, general, what would you like to be remembered as a producer? Like a signature sound, or producing for the Drake, Eminems, and Elzai's? What would you like to have as your stamp? That, what, if I get this done, 20 years looking back, it would be cool.
Yeah, like I honestly, I want people to like be able to identify my sound whenever they hear it. I've always thought it would be cool to like develop a signature sound, and I think that can be done in multiple ways, with different styles. But yeah, I definitely just want to be, I want to let the music speak for itself, so like maybe in 2041 there's some kid in Saskatoon who asks his mom like, yo, does anyone make music out here? And they're like, well, there was that one guy, Dylan KUSCH, kind of like that. I think that would be cool. But in terms of like accolades, I guess a signature sound would kind of, I guess that would be considered somewhat of an accolade. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm not super crazy of like, specific placements or nothing like that.
Right.
I will just see what happens when the
Okay.
time comes.
You use any? I haven't noticed a beat tag that I can remember for Dylan KUSCH. Do you use a beat tag?
Yeah, I technically have a few. With this project, maybe because there's like a few tracks missing, it doesn't kind of come together. But from front to back, in the intro, there's like that little radio thing. Like it was like a fake radio show that me and my friend made.
Okay.
And that came from like a death metal record of all things that we spontaneously made one night. And at the end, you just hear that radio show. Anyway,
Okay.
like you'll hear these little voices throughout each track, and it kind of ties into like the cohesion of the beat tape. But just generally, I do have this one tag where my same friend, I guess he was following me home from school one day, and I didn't know he was behind me. I had my headphones up playing beats, didn't hear anything, but he got it on film. He's just screaming my name, Dylan, Dylan. So I'm like, yo, that's it. You sent me the video. I took him saying that, and I just put that. I do that for placement beats. I'll just throw that tag at the right before the drop.
Right.
And yeah, that's really it. Yeah, just
Okay.
that one thing.
It's always interesting to hear how people come up with their beat tags. JL Beats has an interesting story like that, so it's always
Yeah,
interesting.
Sorry, he was talking about his dad in the hallway or something.
Right. So it's interesting how those come to be. All right, let's get into the final track. Grown Folk. Now this is the final of the 10 that you gave me. Is this the final for the album? It's the beat tape itself.
Second last track. I thought,
Okay.
to be honest, the last one's kind of like, it's a depressant. It's not
Okay.
really, it's not that interesting. But this one I like a lot.
Okay, so the last track is liquor. This one is the weed.
Yeah,
Got you.
pretty much. Yeah.
Got you. All right, so this is Grown Folk, the final track for today. Dylan KUSCH. The beat tape is available on the free platform. So go to the Bandcamp and whatnot, all the free ones, YouTube and whatnot. Download that. Dope. From what I like. I heard a lot of fire. I gotta say, Gluten Free really hit me in the heart. Like, there's a lot of dope stuff, but that one just hit differently. But let's get into Grown Folk. This is track number 10, Dylan Kush, Saskatoon. Let's do it.
You got money on the line, you better take care of that shit.
Fire project. I encourage everybody out there to go download this beat tape. It's called Gelato. This is Dylan Kush representing Saskatoon.
Saskatoon, yep.
You know that spot. It's a city in Saskatchewan, one of the 10 provinces in Canada. We call states provinces in Canada. So one of the 10 provinces. But dope music from Dylan Kush. He's been in the battle live on stage. I think it was 2019, and were you 2018?
Yes, sir. 2018.
Right. So both made a definitely impact both years. He was top 4 for 2019. Him, Unknown, Sino, and Bombay. So definitely he was the top 4 out of 256 producers made it to top 4. So very, very dope producer. Definitely held it down, did his thing. And we salute you here for, coming through and just getting a preview of the beat tape, the project, to see just to learn a little bit, peel the layers back a little bit, to find out who's the man behind this sound. We heard the name, we heard the city you're representing. Now let's find out a little bit more about the individual, how you came to be, what's the background story. I'm still puzzled by the fact you said your mom put you on the Drake. Crazy. I've never heard anybody ever say that to me before. It sounds so weird, like it's like 2 different generations totally. When I'm thinking of my mom putting me on to the artists of today, it's interesting. But anyway, Shout out to Dylan. Thank you for coming through, holding it down.
All right. Thanks for having me, Clefton.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch. Discuss a few things. So definitely look out for that.
All right, for sure, bro.
All right.
Get at me, man. Salute.
Definitely will.